Tonight, first up, we have a proclamation. It is firefighter, rescue squad, first responder week. Um, so September 10th through 16th, whereas firefighters, rescue squad members, and first responders provide valuable services through their assistance to citizens of their communities in Jackson County during times of need and crisis. And whereas they respond to emergencies without hesitation, when the call of duty arises, and tirelessly give of their time and energy in humanitarian efforts, making themselves available every hour of the day, every day of the year. And whereas responders have physical strength, stamina, extensive training, courage, and selfless concern for the welfare of others. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the duties of service and services that firefighters, rescue squad members, and first responders perform, observing September 10th through 16th. It's firefighter, rescue squad, and first responder week in Jackson County. Now, therefore, Jackson County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim September 10th through 16th as firefighter, rescue squad, and first responder week in Jackson County, and encourages all residents to take time to show the volunteers how much their service is valued in the county. Is there a motion to approve this proclamation?
Motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Proclamation passes. Tonight we have three individuals. Randy Dillard, Chief of Casualties of Glenville Fire Department. Kel Wilson, the Chief, Assistant Chief of Savannah Fire Department. And Chris Cabe, Lieutenant of Savannah Fire Department. You guys want to come on up? Thank y'all. That's right.
Everyone, 3, 1, 2, 3. 3, 1, 2, 3. That's right.
Yes. Moving on now to approval of the agenda. Everyone should have a copy of it in front of them. If there's no need for any amendments, I'll seek a motion for approval.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? None opposed? Carries. Excuse me. Next, we have approval of the minutes from August 15th. It's been a while. So if everyone's had a chance to look over them and sees no changes, I'll seek a motion for approval.
So moved.
And a second? Second. All in favor? None opposed? Carries. All right, moving on now to administrative reports. Starting with my report. Last 2 weeks ago, I went down to the County Commissioners Association annual conference. Got to meet a lot of nice new people. Finding that we have a lot of similarities in big cities, small cities, all across the board. Overall, it was a good conference. Learned a little bit about government, and look forward to the next one. Any other commissioner reports?
Yes, sir. I went out this morning and met with Randy Cabe at the Savannah community building, and they are in need of some upgrades to that building out there. I think we all know from the campaign trail that the ceiling fell, and that needs to be fixed. There's pictures of it. And so they're requesting that we pitch in and help with that, as well as some HVAC units and maybe an upgrade to the parking area for more handicap accessibility. I talked with him about it, and I told him I'd bring it before the board, and I'd be glad to talk with all of you individually after the meeting.
Does, my question with that is, does, Board of Elections have any responsibility there since it's used as a voting site?
It's a county facility. Reminder to the board, we did put funding in the budget in regards to this situation. And depending upon the level of upgrades is going to dictate whether or not we have to acquire architectural services. So it could be a combination of things of what could be done to get them by. Like if you're talking about drop ceilings or drop, is there something that could just be minimal to make sure that we get them by? But I had visited, gone out and toured the facility before the budget process, and ultimately, Commissioner Bryson, as you were aware of when you toured around, there's multiple things: HVAC units, electrical. There's some potential plumbing issues. There's multiple items there, and when you start adding all those items together, also the items, and I'm sorry, you're talking about Savannah, aren't you?
Right. That's right.
I got things mixed up. I thought we were talking about Canada.
Yeah.
No, in regards to Savannah, I did recommend Mr. Cade to go to you, Mr. Bryson, Commissioner Bryson, about that. I apologize. I got that mixed up with what we put in the budget for Canada. So there will be also for the community facility up there, the fire department, some further discussions regarding that too.
And they have a estimate here for the it's drywall ceilings. I actually rented the place the day that the ceiling fell. Now I didn't do it, but that's weird enough. But, if we can help them at all, that'd be great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Any additional comments or reports tonight? All right, turn over the floor to Mr. Manager, Adams for.
No formal report. We do have a lot of folks signed up for public comment. I do have, unfortunately, to report to the board that we are not going to be able to conduct the Citizens Academy this year, ultimately due to lack of applications. We have received 2 applications for this. It requires a minimum of about 15 to 25. It is a lot of work for county employees to go through the process. So we'll take a look at rescheduling that.
Anyone want to join the Citizens Academy? There's more than 15 of you.
What is
Citizens Academy goes to every department, sees every manager. It's a great event. You learn a lot. I went through it as well. All right. Got a lot of signed up to speak tonight. Just a quick reminder that because there are so many, we'll try and keep it as close to 3 minutes as we can. I don't know if y'all want a symbol or something. I'll wave at you when you get down to like the last 30 seconds and then keep going. All right. First up tonight, we have Ms. Powell.
Good evening. This is in regards to my application for a volunteer for the board at the community college. I'd like to withdraw my application.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on now, we have Bergen Mackey. How are you doing today?
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good.
A little taller than most folks. My name is Bergen Mackey, and I'm representing Silva Pride, the executive board, as well as Silva Bell Strag. I have a little letter right here that I'll distribute to y'all. But I'd like to share it with you now. On August 13th, 2023, the first Mixed Silva Pride pageant was held at Jackson County Library Complex during closing hours. As a recognized 501c3 organization based in Silva, we rented the space using funds that were raised from local businesses that support our community work. The purpose of a drag pageant is for artists to compete in categories such as interview, onstage question, runway, and talent. The winner of this pageant serves as the figurehead for our organization over the next year. Drag pageantry traces its origins to the 1880s, the same time period as the founding of the town of Silva and Western Carolina University. The winner, Miss Silva Pride 2023, was born in Silva and is an alumna of Smoky Mountain High and Western Carolina University. As an organization run exclusively by taxpayers of Jackson County, we're dismayed to find a county commissioner using his position to urge action against our private event. While we encourage our community to represent themselves honestly and to speak freely, we cannot ignore the actions of an elected official to use his title to incite ill will against a legal event supported by many Jackson County residents. John W. Smith is entitled to his personal opinions, as we all are. I'm not saying that's not the case, yet our elected officials, I believe, are held to a higher standard of tact. That's how my mama taught me. In light of these events, both the Executive Board of Silva Pride as well as Silva Bells Drag calls on Jackson County Commissioner John W. Smith to issue a formal apology to the Silva Pride community, as well as to refrain from using his title to manipulate public policy at the whim of his personal views. As a representative for all the tax-paying citizens of Jackson County, it is not acceptable to discriminate against an entire community. Quote, "We have always been here. We will always be here. We're just no longer choosing to be silent, to be invisible, or to be complacent. We are queer and we are Southern Appalachian. Those two things go hand in hand for us. We are proud to be both, and we don't back down." Unquote. Miss Silva Pride 2023, Josie Glamour. As commissioners must swear an oath of office to uphold the U.S. Constitution, we would like to reflect on Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Proudly, the Silva Pride Executive Board and Silva Bells Drag. Thank you.
Next up, we have Nathan Mann.
Thank you all for your time this evening. My name is Nathan. I'm a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation and a resident of Jackson County. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of and in support of friends and loved ones in our LGBTQ community here in Jackson County. There was a recent article in the Smoky Mountain News that included some comments Commissioner John Smith made publicly on Facebook. One specifically was, quote, "Sadly, we continue to let the perverted 1% dictate what is normal in this country, and it's not just in NC or Jackson County. We seem to have lost our moral compass. Everyone will have their day to answer. Make no mistake, I have plenty to answer for, but this perversion is not one of them." End quote. Commissioner John Smith should have to answer for his hurtful comments, which reflect a deep disdain and disrespect for some of the residents of our county. Mr. Smith is entitled to his personal views. However, it was unacceptable for him to make such comments publicly. Those comments were unbecoming of and completely inappropriate for an elected official who's been given the trust of and responsibility for representing the residents of Jackson County. This includes all residents, not just those he agrees with, regardless of their personal views, lifestyles, or what percentage of the population they represent. People shouldn't have to reach a certain percentage of the population before they're treated with dignity and respect as fellow humans, residents of our community, friends, and family. Commissioner Smith began his comments by saying, quote, "as a commissioner," end quote. He also stated that other commissioners feel the same way. The intended effect of this was to imply that his comments represent the official or prevailing position of the Jackson County Board of Commissioners. Mr. Smith's attempt to use his public position to advance his personal views and to attempt to also speak for the other commissioners while doing so was a complete misuse and abuse of his office. Given recent increases in threats of violence and actual violence against LGBTQ people, as well as the current legislative attacks on the LGBTQ community, Commissioner Smith's comments were irresponsible, reckless, and potentially dangerous. In May, the Department of Homeland Security distributed a report to government and law enforcement agencies showing an increased risk of violence against LGBTQ people. The DHS report specifically called attention to the risk of violence linked with drag-themed events and cautioned of potential attacks against larger groups in public spaces. There's also been a legislative assault against the LGBTQ community occurring across the country, including here in North Carolina. Such discriminatory laws create a hostile and dangerous social environment for LGBTQ people. Despite these trends, the vast majority of Americans oppose such discrimination. In June, the American Public Health Association published research indicating that over 80% of Americans favor laws protecting LGBTQ Americans against discrimination, and that this has been consistently increasing in recent years. Polling data also indicates that a majority of voting Americans feel that there is already too much LGBTQ legislation in states. At a minimum, Commissioner Smith should apologize both to the LGBTQ community and the residents of Jackson County who were deeply hurt by his comments, and he should never repeat this behavior again. Thank you.
Next, we have Tracy Mann. Good evening.
Hi. My name's Tracy, and I'm a resident of Jackson County. I'm also originally from Western North Carolina. I grew up in Andrews. So there's been a lot of talk about hate and disgust lately in Jackson County, and there's obviously been discriminatory statements made by public figures in Jackson County over the past several weeks. I want to be very clear that I'm here today because of love. I want to show support and love to the community that has been suffering from these comments that have been made. I'm here because I love the people who are celebrating the Pride pageant and who are a part of the organization named Silva Pride. I support and love this community. Many of these folks are my close friends and chosen family. I personally went to the pageant that evening, and I personally stopped in the line of the agitators who were coming into that building. And I did this because I love the people in the building, and I didn't want them to face any kind of verbal or physical attack. And I stood with 3 other community members and engaged these agitators to prevent them from going inside the building before the sheriff's office decided to intervene, which was at the behest of library staff. I personally asked Sheriff Farmer and his deputies to move these agitators away from the entrance of the library multiple times, as the sheriff had told me that he would do. I still had to ask him several times to do that. So that the people who were entering into the pageant felt safe and free from verbal and physical attacks. I want to be very clear that all of these actions on my part were defensive, and that is because this community is under attack. My loved ones are under attack. This cannot be swept under the rug. This isn't something that we can just ignore or pretend didn't happen. So I'm here to tell the county commissioners and the county record, which I hope will record this statement, that I'm here to support the LGBTQ community and their ability to express themselves in the way they see fit without discrimination, without mental or emotional or physical attacks. I'm here so that the media, which will hopefully cover this meeting, will hopefully record the fact that there are many people in Jackson County, not just me, who love the LGBTQ community here and want these folks to be safe and free from discrimination and hate speech. We want our loved ones to be free from verbal and physical attacks. I'm here to tell the LGBTQ community who is listening that there are many people here in Jackson County willing to stand beside them in this fight for dignity, peace, and safety. We all deserve to be safe in this community, and the comments that Mr. Smith made clearly signal that safety is not a concern of his for a portion of people who are people that he's supposed to serve in this county. For this egregious comment, he owes the LGBTQ community an apology. And the whole of Jackson County, honestly, an apology, because this hurts all of us. Sheriff Farmer also owes the LGBTQ community and the whole of Jackson County an apology for agreeing with bigoted statements. I was present at that time and heard that myself. When you become a public servant, you serve the public, not just the people you like. Publicly engaging in discriminatory speech and encouraging others to act on bigoted beliefs hurts everybody in the community. Apologize for the statements that you've made to the LGBTQ community and to all of Jackson County, which you are affecting negatively by these actions, and commit to a new plan of action which serves everybody here to the best of your ability without discrimination.
Next up, we have Sarah DeArmond. If I got that.
Good evening. My name is Sarah, and I'm a resident of Cullowhee and an organizer with Answer Coalition Great Smoky Mountains chapter. I spoke at the last meeting in support of the LGBTQ community and asked for accountability and support from the elected officials of this government. Unfortunately, I'm here again to ask much the same because since that last meeting, I have learned through an article in the Smoky Mountain News of the hateful comments made by Commissioner John Smith in a private Facebook group prior to the Silva Pride pageant on August 13th. I don't feel the need to repeat the comment here because it's available in print and online, and has already been repeated in part by my neighbor Nathan, and because it is so hurtful. He refers to LGBTQ people as the, quote, perverted 1% who, quote, dictate what is normal in this country, unquote. This couldn't be further from the reality of our society. The real 1% that dictates what is considered normal or acceptable is the richest 1%, the owners and the capitalists who John Smith himself represents as he seeks to employ homophobia and transphobia to divide the working class community of Jackson County. The fact that this pride pageant happened at the public library has been the focus of much attention from agitated conservatives. It has been stated and emphasized plenty of times already that this was a private event for adults, paid for and put on outside of regular library hours. It is irrelevant for the library to be politicized in the way that it has by conservatives who attack the library in attempts to limit funding for community services. The role of the public library, like the role of elected officials, is to serve all citizens of the community. The mission of the Fontana Regional Library is to, quote, provide the public with excellent service and convenient access to resources for their educational, information, and recreational needs. The library values integrity, social responsibility, and everyone's freedom to read, learn, and speak. They provide essential services for free or very low cost, primarily benefiting the poorest and most marginalized people in our community, allowing them to access information and education that is vital for individual growth and development. Attacks on the library are attacks on the most vulnerable people in our community. Commissioner Smith made his comments explicitly stating, as a commissioner and on behalf of other commissioners, implying that his personal hateful opinions are the public policy of our local government. Using his title to incite residents to violence against other members of the community is a threat to public safety. LGBTQ people and all people of Jackson County deserve an apology from John Smith for this unacceptable behavior. In conclusion, I'm here tonight to express steadfast support for the LGBTQ community and the people in Jackson County as a whole, to stand up against bigotry and hateful division by our leadership, and demand Commissioner John Smith apologize to his constituents for his disrespectful comments and attempts to threaten the safety of our community. Thank you.
Next up, we have Preston Willis.
So firstly, a lot of comments have already been made that have been pretty passionate and pretty valid, and I agree with a lot of what's been said. I want to further stress the value of both public institutions and public servants and their responsibility to the community as a whole. Everyone in the community is a part of the community. Every group, regardless of race, religion, sexual identity, beliefs, or anything, is a member of the community. The community is everyone. Using language or policy in any way, shape, or form that segregates or pushes out people in the community is inherently unconstitutional and should be ostracized. Further, on the matter of the public library, which has been a public institution that's been having issues, particularly with the resources at the public library, restricting any content at the public library or bringing that discussion to the fore is essentially violating anyone's ability to actually access materials they want. It's meant to give people any sort of entertainment, intellectual, or anything of their own volition in essence. It's not like it's a store trying to market or peddle goods of any kind. And regarding John Smith, he completely violated the terms of what it is to be a public servant and serve the community, as he publicly inflamed the situation negatively and pushed negative and toxic rhetoric. And overall, with the current trends in Jackson County, things have been somewhat disappointing on that trend, actually pretty disappointing, to be frank. The attempts to control what people are doing with their free time of their own volition and consent is both disgusting and awful, and we need to live up to a better standard for everyone in the community. Everybody deserves to be taken care of and appreciated, and not fear for their safety or life. I hope going forward the commissioners will strive to care for the community as a whole and push for a better belief in unity of the community rather than segregation of it. Thank you.
Next up, we have Sarah Rivera.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Sarah, and I am many things. I'm a 5-year resident of Jackson County, a lover of this magical, unique place and all that it has to offer. I am a graduate student at Western Carolina University, a dedicated scientist and passionate science communicator, both in the classroom and in the community. I am a queer, proud member of the loving, supporting LGBTQ community that has blossomed in our county. And I'm a drag performer, an artist and entertainer seeking to bring joy and acceptance to our community. There have been times that I felt unsafe in Rural South because of who I am. But until the events of August 13th at the Silver Pride pageant, in which I was a participant, I had never felt truly threatened or unsafe here in Jackson County. What was meant as a night of celebration and joy and artistry turned into a night of tension and fear, in no small part to the Commissioner John Smith's comments encouraging discrimination against the very people he was supposed to represent. Instead of focusing on my message of positivity, acceptance, and appreciating science, I was focused more on the safety of those I love around me, including my fellow participants, the lovely volunteers working the show, the attendees threatened for just enjoying an entertaining event, and the larger queer community as a whole. It saddens me to see the vitriol, hate, and misinformation that has targeted the queer community raise its ugly head in Jackson County. It angers me that I feel unsafe leaving my house with or without makeup. It scares me to see the news of attacks in other cities, and now thinking, when will that happen here? I know that imposing fear and anger on our community is the goal of these threats and protests, and even though I am sad and angry and frustrated and so tired, I am still so proud and I am still here. We are not going anywhere, but we are not a threat. We are not a crime. We are just living our lives. We are not indoctrinating anyone, but we are showing that everyone deserves love and acceptance and safety for exactly who they are. All of us here today have an opportunity to build a better future, starting right here, right now. Embrace us and support the queer community in Jackson County, because we're not making you come to the drag shows, we're not trying to turn anyone gay, we're not threatening anyone. We just like to put glitter on our faces and pretend to sing songs. So please stop this prosecution, please stop threatening us, support us instead. Appreciate the artistry that we bring, and accept our message of acceptance and authenticity. Please help us build the brighter future we all deserve. And together, who knows what all we can accomplish. Thank you very much.
Next up tonight, we have C.Y. Wang. Mr. Wang.
Good evening, commissioners and everybody. My name is C.Y. Wang. I'm here to appear in front of you just to share my qualifications because I volunteer to be on the board of Southwestern Community College. I have many years of experience in higher education, and I hope that you've seen my credentials already. So 5 years ago, I moved to this beautiful area. Essentially, my heart is to serve the community. And if you see fit that my qualification match with what the community college needs, and then I'll be willing to serve. Um, as you know, that economic development relies on workforce development, and both WCU and then our local community college are key to help this area. So I'm not going to take up 3 minutes. I'm just here to appear in front of you, tell you I'm willing to serve. And then I do have colleagues of mine and then neighbors willing to say a few words.
Thank you. Mr. Ogletree.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Ogletree. I'm a professor at Western Carolina. Glad to be with you tonight. I'm here to speak on behalf of Dr. Wong. I've known CY for the 5 years he's been here. I've been at Western myself 31 years, and I've seen a lot of people come and go. I'm so glad he came. He's been a lot, not only to the Western community, but the broader community at large. I'll keep my remarks brief. I will tell you that some of you may know Gurney Chambers. Gurney Chambers talked about the Western Way, and that's people that really show kindness and intense dedication and support for their community and their university. And CY is that kind of person, and I know he will serve Southwestern very well. I hope you'll support him.
Next, we have Lori Anderson.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Lori Anderson. I'm the Dean of the College of Health and Human Sciences at Western Carolina University, and I'm here to talk on behalf of Dr. C.Y. Wong. I am his superior, and I've been his colleague for over 3 years. He has over 35 years in higher education. He is an accomplished scientist who's dedicated and passionate about student learning and success. Dr. Wong provides expertise in the classroom and with his administrative duties. I have found him to be a great leader, a great man of faith with integrity, wisdom, and discernment, and I highly value and respect him as a professional and a colleague. Without a doubt, I confidently recommend CY as a Board of Trustee member for Southwestern Community College. I know that he will serve and contribute his knowledge, his expertise, and time to be a beneficial addition to the board. And I just thank you for this opportunity.
Terry Durbin.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Terry Durbin. I'm the director of the School of Nursing at Western Carolina University. I've had the privilege of working with Dr. Wong for 2 years. That's about how long I've been at Western Carolina University. His extensive expertise in academia is well known. He is student-centered. He is inclusive. He is a researcher. He is dedicated to serving the community, and I think that you will do well if you select him for the board. Thank you.
Joe. I'm gonna not try and ruin this last name. What, just for the record?
Tomeno.
Tomeno.
Yeah, you got it. My name is Joe Tomeno, and I've had a home in Jackson County for well over 20 years. Dr. Wong is a friend and a fellow neighbor of mine in my development. As has been mentioned by others and colleagues, as a professor and associate dean at Western, he's eminently qualified for this particular position. He's got credentials like crazy for over 30 years. He's an educator. He'd be perfect for this position. He's got a servant's heart, and that says a lot. He's eminently qualified, and I do hope you appoint him to that position. Thank you.
Next up, we have Jack Debman.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Jack Debnam. I'm here to talk to you about the position on the Board of Trustees at Southwestern Community College. I've been in Jackson County for the last 33 years. I have children that have attended Southwestern Community College. I have a mother-in-law that has funded a scholarship at Southwestern Community College, and I have served in the community in different aspects for probably the last 25 years. I've been chairman of the Board of Realtors, I've been chairman of the Chamber of Commerce. I've been chairman of the Board of Commissioners. I've been on the Board of Transportation for the state of North Carolina. And I do believe that leadership is the backbone of all our organizations, and that we need leadership that knows people in other areas other than just Jackson County. Our Southwestern Community College is part of 3 counties, and I have good relationships with all of those counties. And I would love, I've been out of community service for about 4 years now, and frankly, I miss it. I enjoyed what I did, and I look forward to getting back into some type of community service. If you could see your way to elect me for the board, I would deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
Next, we have Michael Hall.
Thank you, Commissioners. Like many of you, probably here and behind me, I was raised in a predominantly white, conservative, Christian community. Because of that, and again, like many here, there were certain things about history that I was never taught, because somebody decided that I didn't need to know that. For example, I wasn't taught that the first drag queen in this country was born into slavery, and that tells you how long drag has been a thing right here. I also wasn't taught that the first book burning committed by the Nazis in 1933 were books about LGBTQ people, or that those books were looted from a medical clinic that was performing gender reassignment surgeries to trans people nearly 100 years ago. Somebody decided to keep these historical truths from me, just like they decided to keep them from you. And so it's not surprising that we might think that gay people or drag queens are new or woke, or that the opposition that we're seeing to them now is somehow original. But they say those who are ignorant of history are doomed to repeat it, and we can't afford to remain ignorant of those facts any longer. Civil Pride has happened 2 years in a row now. It is unique in its joyfulness, its kindness, and its strong sense of community. And that's not just my feeling. Everybody that I've talked to who has attended Silver Pride has said much the same thing. We've been able to hold this event as a celebration with our community, including our businesses and local governments, for the past 2 years. Now, though, I'm afraid there are some people who have decided that they want there to be conflict right here in our county. They stir up anger on Facebook groups, and they encourage people to go and cause trouble at peaceful events. They've already embroiled one member of this commission by their efforts, and they will try to get the rest of you as well. They'll say that it's about events being held outside in the park, but they caused the same trouble when those events were held inside. They'll say it's about events being held on county property, but they caused the same trouble when those events were being held on private property. They'll say that it's about taxpayer dollars when they openly admit to their co-conspirators that it's about silencing us. Now, I'm certain that none of you decided to take on the office you have now so that you could silence people's voices or use the power of government to restrict their rights and freedoms. But that is exactly what you're going to be asked to do. Jackson County doesn't have to become the latest battleground in their culture war. We don't have to do what they do in Florida, or Buncombe, or Macon, or Haywood. We have an opportunity to prevent that. This commission, and Mr. Smith in particular, have an opportunity to say no to bringing that conflict to our community by issuing an apology today for statements already made and reiterating this commission's dedication to serving all of Jackson County's residents and maintaining the peaceful and welcoming nature of our wonderful community. Thank you.
Next up, we have Jim Gaston. Mr. Gaston.
Well, I want to speak on a little bit different topic, but still related somewhat to this. But gentleman want to thank you for allowing us to speak. My name is Jim Gaston. I've lived in Western North Carolina for 10 years. I'm a parent and self-employed business owner who loves the community and loves Western North Carolina. I would like to shed some light on Fontana Regional Library, or FRL, from a patron's view. By the way, Mr. Smith, I and the silent majority firmly support your First Amendment rights. I've been a supporter of libraries my whole life and thankful for the resources in them. However, in case you haven't seen the countrywide controversies of sexualizing children the last 2 years, you might not be aware of what's been happening right here in Western North Carolina, although you see what's going on from other angles. As you already know, this year just so happens to be when the contract between Swain, Jackson, and Macon County with the FRL is up for renewal. This is perfect timing in order to fix some of the problems because the FRL might give the appearance it is working, but there are some very broken pieces behind the scenes. For the very first time in 2021, activist directors decided to start promoting sexual themes and gender confusion to children with displays, celebrations, and promotions. This is time to think for patrons. And it was not just 1 month out of the year, it was every opportunity they found an excuse because it's never enough. I have no problem with controversial materials remaining on shelves or for anybody seeking them out or for anybody being whatever the crap they want to be. But whenever you start targeting impressionable minors with sexuality issues leading to increased mental problems, STDs, depression, and even suicide, we've got a huge problem. People are unaware of this because they are ignorant of the facts. Let me repeat for any media present who might not understand. I do not want to ban any books whatsoever. But when activist librarians who receive funding from our tax dollars completely ignore concerns from patrons repeatedly and even thumb their nose at patrons who disagree with them, it's a sure sign they are pushing an agenda. Just look how the alternative groups bully, intimidate, and twist narratives. They play victim, causing chaos in society. There's nothing unifying or tolerant about this message. Again, it's never enough. The behavior here has become a dark pattern across the country as a trend to sexualize children suddenly became fashionable. These attacks on our children suddenly morph into other conflicts, as you're seeing tonight, when the waters get muddied with side arguments as people spin off the narrative to irrelevant topics. Libraries should simply remain neutral and unbiased as all public entities. The root of the problem is that most all library staff are members of the American Library Association, or the ALA. This organization is led by an openly Marxist lesbian who wears it on her shirt sleeve, who has stated on the record she wants to move all libraries to the left to accomplish leftist goals. That doesn't sound like diversity to me. Several state library boards have become aware of this problem and leaving this organization. A line has been crossed when the children are targeted. We do not offer alcohol, tobacco, or R-rated movies to minors, so why would we encourage kids to chop off their genitals? We all love and support the First Amendment, but it has become painfully obvious that neutrality is not enough for these people to simply have materials on shelves or to be whoever they want to be. They must push it in front of everyone, including those too young to understand the consequences. This is Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals tactic in order to change society. It is alternative groups that are doing the exact thing they claim others are doing, inciting hate and no tolerance for disagreeing with them. And thank you.
Lastly, we have Mr. Blaine. Keith.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Keith Blaine. I live here in Silva. So I also want to talk about the Fontana Regional Library Board. So just kind of continuing, with that same thought. So what can we, county commissioners, do about the trend in public libraries? First, you can become aware of what's happening behind the scenes. What does the FLR constantly desire more money to grow their bureaucracy bigger? We have been fooled by the word salad of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, buzzwords of unity and love. Activist library staff are coached by the American Library Association how to misdirect and narrate and turn these controversies into false flags of parents wanting to ban books or attack the First Amendment. It's ludicrous, yet they purposely spin the narrative to their favor. Second, you can look closer into the finances of FRL. It becomes an antiquated bureaucracy unable to manage three counties effectively because it is too centralized. The FRL claims there are not enough funds to pay staff a decent wage, yet the end of year funds on hand are over $1 million. So why aren't staff paid a better wage? The current FLR board has done nothing to hold FLR directors accountable in spending money in or attendance. Patrons have witnessed the FLR board approve multi-million-dollar budgets without so much as a question about having received the budget the day of the vote. The FLR board merely rubber stamps each and every item, and directors have put forward because of the FLR bylaws. FLR director solely holds executive authority. If you attend these meetings, which are only 6 times a year, you would be appalled at the lack of discussion. Furthermore, concerned patrons have shown up by the hundreds to library board meetings in Macon County and FLR meetings when the FLR director did not like the public comment. The director unilaterally banned public comment at their meetings without so much as a vote of the FLR board. The director would argue that public comment is not mentioned in their bylaws. However, canceling comment from taxpayer is unprecedented and a direct violation of their own policy in Article 10, Section 2.2 of their bylaws, and this is just one of the many goalposts violating their own policies. I ask you to please step up meetings and have meetings with the other county commissioners within Macon and Swain counties to discuss necessary changes to the FLR contract as soon as possible. Now is the time for action before these issues get blown up beyond managing. Prevention is better than the cure. The FLR currently holds all the cards in the agreement with the three counties, and they intentionally set this contract up for the years so they can control their bureaucracies without accountability. So I'll provide you with the rest of the speech there. So thank you for your time.
Moving on now, new business with Southwest Commission Annual Report, Mr. Harris. Thank you all for coming in and contacting us, talking. It's wonderful.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Russ Harris. I'm the Executive Director for the Southwestern Commission, the Council of Governments for the 7 far western counties here in North Carolina, the towns within those counties, and the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. I'm visiting our county commissions right now just to thank you all for your support and your partnership. One of the ways that our local governments support us is by paying dues. And last year, our 25-member governments paid about $153,000 in dues to our organization. We're able to leverage that for state and federal funding in the amount of about $20 million to bring programs and funding to the region. Our mission is to improve the quality of life in the region. We do that through the work of our 4 departments, which are our Area Agency on Aging, our Workforce Development Department, Community and Economic Development, and the Mountain West Partnership. Now, you've got our annual report in front of you, and it's got a lot of the different impacts and things we did over the last year, and I'll let you guys read that and not go through all that, but just a couple of things I'm going to highlight tonight. One is a story going back to March 6th of this year, about 6 p.m., and that's when word started trickling out of Haywood County that about 1,000 people are going to lose their jobs with the closing of Pactive Evergreen, and not just affecting folks in Haywood County, but over in the Jackson County and the 7 western counties. Within 24 hours, our Workforce Development Department formed a rapid response team that is made up of folks that can present career opportunities to people in that situation. They can also help them with mortgage support if anybody's at risk of becoming homeless because they were about to lose their jobs. Also helping folks navigate the healthcare world and what do you do when your employer paid health insurance is going away. So with that team, we were able to go in on the side of Pactive Evergreen and conduct 14 different meetings so every employee that wanted that information could get it. Now, I bring that up. I mean, that was in Haywood County, but I bring that up tonight because in a county or a region with about 65,000 workers, when we lose 1,000 jobs almost overnight, it affects every single one of our counties. And within 24 hours, We heard of a business in Cherokee County that would be closing its doors. We conducted a study to kind of figure out what the impact would be in the other counties, and it predicted about 75 people here in Jackson County would also lose their jobs as a result of that closing. The other reason I bring it up is because attached to that event, there's funding available to help anyone who's been out of work for 13 or more weeks with training funds so that they can go back to school and start a new career. That person doesn't have to be connected to Active Evergreen in any way, shape, or form. It can be from any of our 7 counties. Anyone that needs that kind of help can get that through our program. Also, we've got some funding for employers that are willing to hire some new folks. We hear all the time with different employers that can't find workforce right now. So if they're interested in hiring some of these folks that have been out of work, we can offset some of that on-the-job training time as they take those workers on. So if you know somebody who's looking for a job, looking to change careers, or you know an employer that's looking for workers, they can contact me. Your county manager knows how to get in touch with me, or they can simply go to your NC Works Center and they can get them connected with that program. Pages 17 through 19 in your report have other workforce impacts last year, and I'll let you guys look at those on your own. The other story I want to tell tonight, our area agency on aging provides a lot of services, and that's on page 5 and 6 of your report. And we can go through numbers and things like that. Over 150,000 meals served last year with funding that flowed from us down to the counties. 46,000 of those were here in Jackson County, but sometimes it has more of an impact than individuals. And one of the things we do in our office is we not only provide funding for those meals, but every Friday, someone in our office takes a turn delivering meals to people in our county. We're housed here in Jackson County, so that's where we do delivery. And for a lot of those people, it's the only person they'll see during the day. So not only do they get a nutritious meal, but they get to have personal contact with somebody. So the first person on our route is Jeannie Bernard here in Jackson County. And when you go up to the door, she meets you at the door. She's smiling, and she always says 3 things. I'm glad to see you. You're beautiful, and thank you. And so 46,000 is not just the number of meals provided in Jackson County, but that's the number of people getting some kind of personal contact from that funding. One other thing I just want to mention real quick also, we have our other 2 departments, Community and Economic Development, kind of works with local government infrastructure expansion. The Mountain West Partnership also does economic development, but works more with businesses. And so those 2 groups have been working closely with American Sewing and the Jarrett House here in Jackson County in partnership with Tiffany Henry to bring in $193,000 in incentive funds and creating 25 new jobs. So again, those are just a couple of things we did. I'll let you guys dig through the report on your own. I do want to invite you all. Mr. Devon mentioned the importance of relationships, and that's something that in all his different roles, he has always been big on going around the region, getting to know other people. So we have our next board meeting on September 25th. It's 6:30 at Southwestern Community College. We ask all our member governments to appoint 1 representative to attend that, and Chairman Letson has been doing that on behalf of Jackson County. Commissioner Stribling comes sometimes, and we welcome more than 1 representative. A lot of counties and towns send more than 1 person, so I'd like to personally invite all of you to join us for that meeting. And with that, if you've got any questions, I'll either answer them or I will go back and find an answer and get back to you.
Any questions from the board?
All right, thank you all.
I'm glad a lot of y'all stayed because the next up is Mr. Wells from the Senior Center of Excellence. And if you want to be a meal deliverer, that's the guy to talk to right there. I'm sure the amount of volunteerism at the Senior Center is always just amazing to me. So, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman Lesman. Thank you, Board of Commission, for allowing me to come to speak today about this recent certification. As you know, the Jackson County Department on Aging is a one-stop of services for the aging community. And we run a multitude of programs. We've got about 18 services we run out of the Department on Aging. But the one we're here to highlight today is our Senior Center, which is the Jackson County Senior Center, which is within our umbrella of the Department on Aging. As a Senior Center, you can go through a certification process. That includes applying for a certification through the North Carolina Division of Health and Human Services. And there's kind of 3 parts to that. You become a Senior Center, a Center of Merit, or a Center of Excellence. Each one of those comes with a little bit of additional funding. I can tell you this certification is a very comprehensive certification, and I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of what that means and the process that we go through for this certification. The certification toolkit is called SCOPE, which stands for Senior Center Operations and Program Evaluation. It's a very comprehensive review that covers 5 years of programmatic efforts for seniors here in Jackson County. This includes our services, publicity and marketing, activities, volunteer opportunities, advocacy, transportation, planning, evaluation, input for older adults, staff training plans, and there's a section called the Extra Mile as well. All over 5 years of services for the community. I'm pleased to announce that we were recently recertified as a Center of Excellence and will be for the next 5 years. This is the third time we've received this certification, and we're excited to have this for, like I said, 5 more years. I'd like to thank a few people for this too. First, I want to start with the Board of Commission, for all the support from you guys and from your predecessors. And, we can't do it without you. We know we have one of the nicest aging facilities in the entire state, if not the Southeast. And but when our senior center scope person comes from the state of North Carolina and comes and tells us that this isn't normal to have a facility like this, and to be in a town like Jackson County of about 42,000, and a lot of these other counties that are way larger in population, and for them to recognize us as one of the best senior centers, just a physical senior center that there is in the state is amazing. I also like to thank administration for all they do, and public works that help us in our services. Russ talked about the Southwestern Commission, their agency on aging. They do assist us through this process to help us make sure we've got everything done before we send that into the state of North Carolina. And then last but not least, a big thank you to our staff. I can tell you we have one of the most dedicated staff of people that truly care about helping people in our community, and I can't say enough about them. I do want to recognize 3 of them that are here today from our senior center. We got Laura Rohde. Chrissy Marino. And then Amanda Brooks. This is our Jackson County Senior Center staff that worked hard to make sure we receive this certification. I'd like to read this certificate, if you don't mind, and then if you'll indulge us with a photo opportunity after that, we'd appreciate it. The North Carolina Division of Age and Adult Services Certificate of Excellence presented to the Jackson County Senior Center. Whereas the Jackson County Senior Center in Sylvan, North Carolina has met all criteria and achieved recognition and is hereby declared a Senior Center of Excellence for a 5-year term, June 30th, 2023 through June 29th, 2028, and signed by the state. So,
How many volunteer hours did you have last year?
well, for the Department on Aging, our volunteer hours, it's around 16,000 hours, which is valued about over, I think it's $600,000 if we had to pay for that service. But that's all of our services: Meals on Wheels, ramps, firewood, everything. So yeah.
Moving on now to permitting software contract, Mr. Adams.
So this is an item that's been brought before the board multiple times. I do believe we have the entire contract in front of you for consideration. I'll bring it up. This is just a reminder for the for the audience at home and the group that we have here today. This is a software agreement that's for our permitting process. So this is code enforcement, environmental health, and planning. Our staff, department heads, and other employees went through a multi-month process where they interviewed multiple software companies, and ultimately the selection was Tyler. And what you have in front of you is the proposed software agreement. This is something, as you all know, has been discussed multiple months with this board. The monies and funds have been budgeted for us to proceed forward. So real quickly, I'm just going to hit some highlights of what's enclosed in your packets. And you can see as I scroll down, and I apologize for people at home and everybody watching here, all of this information is online. So just remind everybody, when I'm going through this, when you see me doing this, this is actually online. All you have to do is go to jacksonnc.org, go under government, and then go under commissioner meeting agendas, find the date, and you'll see all the attachments that everybody can go back through and review. They all stay up. So I'll go back here. Bear with me. So ultimately, with the proposed service agreement, I'm going to scroll down. The reason the board did not vote last time was because it did not have all the attachments, as you recall. So real quickly, I'm going to go down to, excuse me, just a reminder to the board, a couple things that legal did pay attention to on page 5. What is in here is in regards to the data breach and cyber attacks. We had to work on that language. And then on page 10, working out, making sure that the insurance was palatable to our legal. And so these are the two items that, if you recall, if you go back to our last meeting, had the line through of changes and so forth. So all of that has been accomplished. And again, I'm just going to scroll down just to remind the board what you're looking at here. The board will vote through this as a 3-year contract, a multiple year contract. That's why it's required to come before the board. And so you can see if you vote to move forward, Chairman Letson would sign off on it. And this is where you did not have your exhibits before. So ultimately, the funding. This does require 3 years worth of $119,714 as far as maintenance. The software itself costs $365,505. So ultimately, what you do have, we do have budgeted this year the $365,505 and a portion of the $119 in the travel. So the entire budget, just if you're wanting to run the math, the $724 minus the $365, and then the remainder amount is 3 years of the $119. And again, we do have the $365 budgeted this year, a portion of the $119 because there will be an initial transition before the annual contract comes into play, and then we'll have a little bit of travel as they're traveling here. Ultimately, just quickly scrolling through, we do have these other exhibits. I'm not going to go. This is about how we pay. Exhibits B, C, and D. I do want to ultimately go down to the last exhibit because the last exhibit is really the work. Make sure I didn't scroll past it. This is really the process that the department heads went through. So I just want to draw attention to this. If you really want to understand, if you're interested in the actual service that we're receiving from this company, then ultimately, if you'll go down to Exhibit E, the statement of work, then you will see a detailed where it is ultimately executive summary and then also table of contents of the work that will be provided to the county. And just a reminder, this really is an important piece of software for the county. This is what allows us to provide the safety inspections necessary. When I say code enforcement, that's building inspection. So all the construction everybody sees around, whether it be the partner complexes out in Coley or all the construction going on in Cashers, this is the software that will be utilized for these developers to come in and apply for their permits. Anything from jumping to environmental health, septic systems, well permits, all the way to all of their operations, and then, of course, planning for zoning and things of that nature. So this is an extremely important piece of software, and ultimately, I wanted to go through and make that statement because there's a lot of value and a lot of safety behind this software that allows our staff to follow through. And so, Mr. Chairman, I do present this to the board for consideration.
This is going to be for years 24 through 27.
Well, it'll be ultimately from when this is executed. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions from the board? I feel like we've run through this a lot. So, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
A second. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Stribling?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Latson?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners.
Moving on now, we have several appointments up for the different boards. First up is Council on Aging. Council of Aging Board has recommended Monica Wildcat to the Board of Commissioners. She's been recommended to replace Krishna Ash. Is there a recommendation for, sorry, I had a blank there. Monica Wildcat? Motion. Has there been an application?
Yes.
And she,
Yes, that's ready.
is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay. A second? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Stribling?
Yes.
Chairman Latson?
Yes. Moving on to Public Library Board, for the Cashier's Representative, we have Miss, there we go, Martinez. Geraldine Martinez. She's filled out her application, passed everything. Is there a motion to approve Ms. Martinez?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Stribling?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Latson?
Yes. For the last appointment, and I'm sorry, Mr. Wong and Mr. Dedman, there was an issue with Mr. Commissioner Jones tonight. We were going to hold off on that vote until he's here. The other one is for Macon County's Board of Commissioners, Representative Brett Rogers, and he was appointed or recommended by the board at their last meeting. So is there a motion to approve Mr. Rogers to the SEC board?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Stribling?
Yes.
Chairman Latson?
Yes. With tonight, we do not have a need to go into closed session. So,
Mr. Chairman.
yes,
Are we not doing personnel?
we're not doing personnel tonight. So with that, is there any questions from the press? Press here. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. We are adjourned.